Even to a broader principle, if something exists now, could there be a time where there was absolute nothingness?
I mean, to have a wildfire, for example, where does the wildfire come from? It comes from a spark, doesn't it? So maybe, though, it could be that the default is a giant expanse of nothing. And
can nothing do anything?
Well, it could be that in that nothing, that something had to fill that nothing.
Let's go back. Let's go back to even before you explain anything. What is nothing?
Yeah, well, I'd say just a space void of anything else.
Space is something. So explain nothing again.
I wouldn't necessarily.
That's not nothing.
Space is nothing.
No, space is something. Space, time,
yeah.
Quantum fluctuation, they're not nothing, they're something. So what is nothing in your understanding?
But
don't go into Professor Lawrence Krauss, who's trying to deceive and con every other lay people out there by the universe came from nothing. You've read this book?
I haven't. No.
I've got it autographed by him. I went to the lecture specifically to ask him that question, why he's deceiving the people.
And what was his answer?
He says, I've defined what my nothing is in my book, which is not nothing, which is something.
Sorry?
So
how are you?
Nothing.
I guess that's an opinion.
If I tell you what nothing is the absence of everything. That means space, time, quantum fluctuation, all of that.
No, I don't know.
But
if something exists now, can there be that kind of nothing? Before at one point.
Well, I guess that's that's a very absolute. Maybe in the very beginning there was some sort of there was something that lay in between nothing and something.
I don't understand.
Well, I mean,
what is in between nothing and something? There's no such thing. It's a binary. It's either nothing or something.
Could be something.
Explain. If you cannot explain something, then don't bring it in the table. So what is you're proposing?
I'm proposing that. Look, I haven't come prepped for this particular.
No, there's reason.
But we're coming back to. We began with. Is the reason that we are here because it has been consciously created.
We can go there by understanding what is nothing and what is something. You'll find that it's amazing. In a simple foundational level, like what is something and nothing, can lead us to a conviction of whether there is a conscious agent behind this universe. You'll be amazed. So we need to understand something is what we are. We know that we are something. We're made of matter.
Yeah, we all know that if you leave a cold bottle on the side, it condenses. We know that if you trap certain gases, so I think if there was a space devoid of anything with I don't know, some...
Space is space. Space we can curve, right? It's not nothing. So let me tell you, if I have a money bag, which I have, and I have no money, can I give you £5 from it?
Well, I think...
I have no money. That includes no credit cards, no money, no cash, nothing. Can I give you £5
well, actually,
from my bag?
Money's a bad one because the monetary system is based on.
We know what money is.
Things happening from.
But do you know what money is? You know what money is? Can I give you £5 to buy something, like get some water or coffee?
No, but you can say.
If I have no money,
you can just go to somebody and say, "I will give you £5. Can I take that now?"
If I don't have it, then I can't give you. So this nothing that I have in my wallet. This nothing cannot be suddenly generated into £5. So if there was nothing to begin with at one point for our universe, this nothing would not be able to generate anything. It will be nothing, nothing, nothing throughout. The fact that we have something now, there cannot be a time where there's absolute nothingness.
For me,
can there be?
For me, these aren't even the most, for whatever reason. Where the provenance of which we can be one of many things, whether it's a scientific one or a religious one. We are actually on a planet with a past and a future, and for me these aren't even the most important questions. I feel that there's so much more immediate.
What I'm reasoning is to demonstrate the existence of a creator who is one, only, possessor of will, intelligence and power, just from nothing and something. You've not heard this before in any philosophy books. These questions are not discussed in that way, and that's why you've not heard of these things.
You know what's interesting? It actually reminds me of a thought experiment. somebody that, like yourself, is standing here, nice and safe, and then somebody comes randomly, puts a bag on your head, and then takes you away. You're hearing all this stuff, but you can't see anything. Then you're put on a train. Again, you can hear certain stuff, then the bag's taken off. You've been given sumptuous meals. You've got really good service, and they just want you to ignore everything that's happened. Logically and reasonably, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in that position, the first thing they're going to be asking is, how did I get here?
What am I doing here?
What am I doing here? And there's a but here's the food. Enjoy the food. Yeah, the food and the pleasure is nice. It's a nice experience, but that's not explaining what I'm actually doing here. Like, how did I get here? No, but that's not really important. It is important because I'm on this journey, and the text that keeps coming up, and I don't understand what that is. Where am I going? Who brought me here? You see, is your name Steve? Sorry, is your name Steve?
No, Marco.
Marco. Okay, sorry.
No, I wasn't actually just saying, oh, well, let's just focus on the fun that we're having. I'm saying that my motivations for thinking come from different issues that we face as a species and as a planet and as part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So
No, we appreciate that.
So those are where my
But to reason
priorities
about our universe, you see what you'll notice, one thing that we see time and time again, whenever questions about the origin of existence comes into a question with someone who doesn't believe in God, we see an automatic drive towards a particular, not yourself, toward a comfort zone called evolution. Oh, we came through evolution, this is natural selection and so on and so forth. Not realizing is, we're not questioning about the biological transformation of matter to whatever, right? We are questioning the very existence of matter, okay? So they have to come out of their comfort zone, and they find it very, very difficult. I mean, this is from experience. They find it difficult to talk about how does matter exist? Why does something exist rather than nothing? They always want to say, oh, this is, we've just got told by our professors and so on. It's all about evolution, because that's how they have rationalized this question. You don't need to even think critically any further, because everything happens because of this just
it's all
evolution. So if we were to come back to the question about nothing and something, there has to be something always. This is the only rational position to take. You can't have a position where at one point in the past there was absolute nothing and then something came, because absolute nothingness cannot make something. It has no energy, it has no existence of its own, it cannot do anything. It's like saying, for example, you, while you are nothing, can give yourself life. You can't, because you are nothing to begin with.
I just think that the fact that there is matter in existence I guess one plausible, like one theory is that, well, it's because it was consciously created, or it could be.
But you're jumping to the second and third, fourth questions. The first question to understand is whether something always existed or not. Because there are many people who will be surprised, they don't see the rationality of that problem that we are facing. Either something always existed, or there was at that point absolute nothingness. Absolute nothingness is not a rational position to take, because from absolute nothingness, we should have absolute nothingness. But if we are something now, there has to be always something. Do you agree to that? Then we can move on.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I have always thought that myself.
Good. So there was always something. But now the question now is, if this is always something, it could be our universe, or it could be the causes of our universe, or the causes of that universe. It can just go on and on and on how much you want, right? We need to have an explanation in terms of transformation and change that happens. Does it happen by conscious will, or it just happens? Just happens. Which one seems to be sensible by understanding and analyzing the data within our cosmos?
I mean, I feel like it's a constant transformation.
That transformation to happen either just happens, or it happens because of a willing agent who is self-aware, driving that change and transformation, driving that assembly together. You know, when his
This
The
conscious
sun's
agent, is
cell,
there any-
the sun cells are coming together in the embryonic form. They just move together and aggregate in one place to form the tissue of the heart. They don't go there in to make the stomach. The cells that are going to make the tissue of the heart, they aggregate to make the heart. There
What's
seems
the
to be
argument and what's the evidence for this conscious?
no, it's not about argument and evidence. We're trying to understand, could it be no conscious agent, no willing agent
Yeah.
that is involved within this process, or is there a conscious willing agent? These are the two broader alternatives.
Yeah.
You don't need the third one, these are broader alternatives. We can analyze each one. If there is no conscious agent, willing agent to make that transformation, why do we expect any transformation in the first place? There should be no transformation. You see, the laws of physics, if something moves, is moving,
Yeah.
it should keep on moving unless there's another force to stop it from moving. It should just keep on going and going and going. If something is changing to something, organizing cells of a heart and tissue, if something is organizing something, we need to understand, is it just simply happening that's like without a cause, intelligence behind it? Or there is a causal explanation for it, which is an agent of will and self-awareness.
I guess there can be these changes that happen, and the cause is the reaction between themselves, rather than...
Reactions to happen, these rules and laws need to be in place. The rules came together in place to form this reaction. When you have an hydrogen and oxygen and you just make a spark and you put them together, you get water forming. But to have that rule there to begin with, needs an explanation. How do you have a rule there? Every time you have H2 and O, H2O, right, and you do this spark and then water forms, this universal principle that we now have discovered and observed, how do I explain that? If I keep on throwing plastics, Zishan's mic and his glasses and his very fancy watch, and just bang in a warehouse, do I expect the next generation iPhone to happen? It's not going to happen. It will never happen. Even if I, have some of this intelligent assembly like this has alarm or chronograph and lots of other things, right? If this microphone capturing sound, transmitting over there, if I keep on throwing this, I create an explosion in a warehouse. Do I expect a nice car, which is Tesla, for example,
we know the
forming?
conscious thing that's driving that change, and that's us.
So how do we then assign to our cosmos an unconscious, not self-aware agency, saying no agency, no will involved, and yet transformation and assembly happens? I mean, how would you explain that to our friend Marco here?
The thing is, Marco, what would be interesting to think about here is forces. When you look at forces, a lot of people, when they say the universe came by itself, it's actually, like the brother was saying, it's a logical impossibility, because you're presupposing that a universe exists for it to create itself.
Yeah.
So to say, the universe created itself, or it came from nothing, presupposes that there is a universe. Then they go to deifying forces. Like you're alluding to sometimes with chemicals and certain things, but if you actually analyze, like the theory of arithmetic, if I've got 1,000 in the bank, then I put another 1,000 in the bank, arithmetic tells me I've got 2,000, but it doesn't create the money in the first place. Me moving a billiards ball, physics can tell me the laws of motion, but it doesn't cause the ball to move. So forces are descriptive and prescriptive, they are not creative. So this is, I think, a bit of a cop-out when sometimes, and that's why I think Terence McKenna said that, science or scientists, they want the first miracle, that matter and space and energy came from nothing. And then we want to explain now from there everything else. So I think that's what Mansur was trying to emphasize, that it is that first miracle that we don't want to give that away for free. We want that emphasis, and we want to get to the root of that, because you were saying you want to...
And I am certain that we all know that there is a root there. We all know that there is an explanation, whatever their explanation may be. I would like to see a slightly broader offering then well, I don't know. I would like. I've heard the conscious creator. I've heard that. I frankly would like to hear some.
What other options are there?
Well,
a self-aware, self-conscious, willing agent, and something that is.
Why is it so binary? Why have you stopped? Why have we stopped at those two?
Okay,
offerings?
give me some other explanations.
I'll go away. Well, I mean, I guess let me go away and think.
Okay, Marco, let me help you. Rather than you going away, let me help you. And feel free to stop me whenever you want. Yeah, and push back. So on the one hand, when people say I want evidence, they say, and it's pretty much limited to empirical evidence.
I shouldn't have said I wanted evidence. I just said I wanted a broader offering of possibilities.
But a broader offering of possibilities is predicated on evidence, isn't it? And there's different forms of evidence, and there's different branches.
I guess you can have it. You can have. Yes. Yeah.
Somebody would say empirical evidence. I'm not saying yourself. But on the other hand, when we're talking about religion, we say, look, empirical evidence, ontological evidence, and rational and philosophical evidence as well. So let's talk rationality, because I'm sure you'll agree when it comes to science, it can't answer why questions. Yeah, it doesn't tell us what consciousness is. It can't explain what free will is. It doesn't explain morality. I mean, science washes its hands when it comes to morality, free will, consciousness. Are we in agreement with that, isn't it? Yeah. So because of that now, we need logic, we need rationality, we need philosophy. That's why, I mean, when things were stripped, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. That's what, at the bare bones, that's what things were stripped to. Yeah, I exist, you exist, right? So when you exist, then you look around, you look for order. Yeah, uniformity, regularity, stability. Like, why are trees not floating away? Why are clouds not, just randomly combusting and exploding? Because there is some stability. That then begs the question, as we've agreed, that there then is a necessary being that is at the end of that chain of dependent things. But now we arrive to that point that, okay, what are the qualities of that necessary being? Mansur said there has to be a will. Because if we have emerged at a period of time, yeah, and we didn't emerge before this necessary being. So if it's emerging at a specific time and no one's telling the necessary being what to do with us, it's a will. Yeah, I'm sure this logically making sense that us being here, the creation being here, we were created at a specific moment in time, there is will. That being also needs power as well. Yeah, there is power. The fact that that power doesn't randomly switch off and switch on and other beings can come in, that means that power was there forever. Yeah, for it to be the end of the chain. Feel free to stop me when you think.
This is. I was far from wanting to stick my head in the sand away from this question, away from to go, the bag's come off, this food's great. Oh yeah, what's that? No, I'm not going to wonder how I got here. It's obviously I don't want to do that. But I feel like, why is this, so the extreme focus on the very, very beginning, or even what comes after, if you believe something that comes after. Like, what, my philosophy is that basically I'm saying that I don't know why the focus is so much on this issue when in all likelihood, like, I mean, are we ever going to, in your lifetimes, are we going to have a definite answer on this one?
Yeah, of course.
Marco, you know why that's such an important question? Because that then is predicated on the root of our morality. Because as human beings, we have to live morally.
I feel like I'm very morally aware, and I'm able to do that without too much contemplation as to how we've come to be here or what will come to happen to me after I die. I think that it's perfectly possible to live well and morally without spending an awful lot of time on this particular issue.
All right, Marco, if I was to slap Mansur on the shoulder, is that good or bad?
Well, it depends on context.
Well, you just saw me, I slapped him, and you've asked me, what would you say to me? Is that good or bad?
Well, I'd say it's context dependent. We've all,
But you're seeing
you
the
walk
context.
You walk out of somewhere, whether you've had a great time with your buddy, you slap on the back. Bloody hell, that's brilliant, wasn't it? That was great. You slapped him on the back.
I didn't say that though. I just did that just like now.
Oh.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I'd say it's probably pretty innocuous, and there doesn't really need too much contemplation. I mean, it would be interesting to know your motivations. I guess a slap on, what was the cause of, what was the rationale behind your action?
I just wanted to slap him.
You wanted to slap him, okay. And I guess if you wanted to get into that, we'd say, was that bad for you? Did you like that?
No, I didn't.
You didn't like it? Oh, please, would you not do that to Mansur again?
Well, why is it bad?
Yeah.
He likes it.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, I guess we all just have to be. We are free to go about our lives and think and do what we think is best, as long as it doesn't encroach on other people too bad. We need to be aware of where our actions encroach on the lives of other people or other.
Where did that metric come from? And why is that metric better than my metric?
Your metric is I
My
should be able to
metric is
do
I
whatever
should be,
I want.
If pleasure more than pain, like Bentham said.
Pleasure. Well, I guess what we could do. This.
Why would you restrict his pleasure in hitting me, for example?
Well, I mean, we'd then have to say, well, where does pleasure? What pleasure do you arrive from hitting her?
It gives me a dopamine release. That physical contact just makes me feel in charge.
Okay. Well, do you want to live in a world where people can do that if they want? Do you want to live in a world where people are free to do whatever they want, free of?
I don't care about other people.
You don't care about other people, and do you think that's the kind of society that you'd like to live in?
I don't care about society. I care about myself, my pleasure, my pain.
Okay, so you just would happily live in a. They have to be in a physical place. That matter that we've discussed.
No, he
has to be in a physical place.
He lives like a Brazilian drug lord, quite happy.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, and enjoys his life by exploiting people and whatever that needs to do.
Yeah, so
why is his morality
not? Order is something that you're.
So is he doing a moral thing?
Because you know what, you love to slap people on the shoulder, but you can't do that if someone's done something.
So why are you saying it is immoral?
If someone's arbitrarily incarcerated you, for example, and your hands are tied behind your back, you won't be able to go around enjoying yourself slapping people on the shoulder because you'll be tied up. So so you want to enjoy the freedom
How
of
can
being.
you prove that, like theoretically, that we can then mass produce that theory to other people?
We've come pretty far, haven't we? I mean, look, we've done pretty bloody well at civilizing ourselves. I mean, the world, the way that we live now is very different to the way that humans have lived for the majority of our
How long
history.
ago was communism in Russia? Not too long ago.
No, we've got a lot of stuff in our recent history.
So
yeah.
we only learned within the last 100, 200 years, you're saying? Are you saying we've learned enough?
And it's not perfect. No, I'm not saying we have.
Right, so you keep on learning. That means we haven't got the right moral guidance yet. Because 200 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the communist Russia, they thought they had their upper moral ground. And look what happened. Look how many people, how many thousands of people suffered because of that. So if you were thinking about, we're pretty much now there already, we're here in our moral understanding of what makes moral and so on, I would say we're probably not even there yet. Because that's what people thought 100 years ago. And 100 years later, that's what they will tell us.
And Marco, what's interesting is, sorry to cut you, you said we're doing pretty much now. We're doing pretty much better now. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'd say at least in the realm of what people can freely do to other people.
Like invading Iraq and Palestine and
like
Syria, lots of countries looting all their from Africa, from Asia, Are we doing pretty well?
I mean, in what we've come to, we were just talking about we were talking about personal freedoms and the ways that we can act towards one another in a day-to-day setting, and what you can do with impunity.
Our personal freedom seems to be very much restricted by our political freedom, by our politicians. What they're doing, they're invading a whole country for greed because of oil and gas.
Yeah.
So we haven't come anywhere near to the good moral standard.
About say we've definitely.
So what was your question about morality then? Are you saying the morality is not something that should be grounded on our own personal feelings, but rather?
Yeah, it should be objective. It should come objectively. Because the thing is, Marco, I could see the sincerity in what you were saying, but let's face it, it's not going to really get far. There's no metric. What you are referring to is by Kant, the categorical imperative. but we know the categorical imperative of Kant breaks down. It's pretty much what you said. Extrapolate something. If you extrapolate something to other people, would you mind if that happened to other people? If other people started doing that, would that be conducive for society? That's what you were saying. But then the point, and it breaks down to lying. That if a woman is at home and her husband's at home and she opens the door and there's a killer outside and her husband's inside and the killer asks her, "Is your husband at home?" According to Kant and according to the morality that you put forward, she's not allowed to lie. Because if she lies, then other people can lie, and then that's bad for society, therefore she can't lie. And that's where it breaks.
I guess
what do you think about that?
I guess lying is context dependent, isn't it, really? Lying, if a lie, like everything, like the slap on the shoulder, like you can't, there's no one answer for something like a lie, because it's so context dependent. Go for it, yeah.
So the only issue with that now, Marco, is what you may determine as a white lie, I'm going to determine as a serious lie. Let me give you an example. You go home late.
I didn't say it was a white lie, I just said that there's lies are context dependent.
Yeah, we're not going to hold you to that, don't worry. So in the sense that, can we agree on this point that gradations of lying is subjective to people? What I deem as a little white lie, you will deem as a serious lie. Can we agree on that?
I guess we'd have to. I guess people might judge things differently. But I'd be surprised if there was. I'd be surprised if there was an example of a lie where one person thought it was minuscule and the other person thought it was major.
Okay, so if I asked my friend, "How are you?" Yeah, and my friend tells me he's fine.
Yeah.
However, he's lying. He's actually, going through some madness at home, and he's told me everything's fine just to throw me off the scent. And then there came a chance that he was very close to being suicidal, and he could have taken his life because of that one lie that he said. And I turned away and didn't enter his house. His life could have gone. Can you see now? To him, he just wants to get away. He just wants me away because for him, he's just thinking subjective.
I'd agree that I think that most people would think that was, a serious situation.
But for him, he's just seeing in terms of he thinks in his head, I'm going to die anyway, it's a short existence. But again, whether you see in terms of lying, whether you look in terms of time, whether you look in terms of culture, Marco, there's just so many variables that one has to take into consideration whether one lie is justified and one lie is not justified. Let me give you the example of Boris Johnson, the very Prime Minister of our country. He even now, barefaced telling people that, you know what, I didn't go against the lockdown rules, what I did was justified. Sunak is defending him. But I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, even according to a YouGov poll, people are saying it was a lie, it was anti common sense. It just went against what we believe in, what we believe to be true, but that man simply cannot accept that. And he's convinced that he's correct and he's right. Why? Because it's the same like a child, you've asked him and he will lie. Again, a white lie, if your wife asks you, "Oh, do I look fat in this?" What if she genuinely wants your opinion so she can go to the gym? But you lie because you don't want to hurt her feelings. Again, there's just so many things. But again, Marco, this is what it comes down to. And this is what you said at the start, that look, I want to look at the bigger picture, I want to look at the bigger thing. And I'm saying, Marco, you actually can't do that. Why? Because in the society that we're living in at this moment in time, you can go on the street and you can ask people, what is a woman? And I promise you, I swear to everything that's holy, you will not get consistent answers on this. What is a woman? You're not. In fact, if that's recorded and it goes online, you can lose your job. If on camera you say anything about the vaccines, you can lose your job. If you question any historical aspect about the Holocaust or 9/11, you can lose your job. This video will be censored. So the point that I'm trying to say is, all of these things about you can say this, you can't say that, is all predicated upon morality. And that morality needs a basis, it needs a foundation. What is right, what is wrong? And simply saying, oh, whatever you feel is right or well, that's what the example was.
No, but, I mean, I guess the idea of a creator if you're coming back to that. I mean, I think a religion is a set of moral guidelines, and that's a good thing to take. It's a way to live that should be a good way, a morally just way. Fine. So yeah, I mean, we're not disagreeing that you wherever you get your morality from.
What we're saying is, morality necessarily follows when you necessarily accept there's a necessary being. Mentioned 3 times.
When there
has to be a necessary being who is the cause of our existence. That
in order for us to be able to have a morality,
no. What I'm saying, because we exist, something exists. There will be something that exists always, and that has to be the necessary being, because everything that you see is contingent and dependent. The thing that all of these things will depend on will be that thing that will be not dependent. That is the necessary being. That necessary being. Because being is not something like a person yet, right? This necessary being will have certain characteristics and properties and attributes, like self-awareness, like will, like power. This is something that will follow logically and rationally when we understand what is something now. When this necessary being then, with willingness, tells us something, that becomes our guidance. Because we, by our definition, we are limited and we are finite and we are dependent. We don't understand and we would not comprehend the whole, working of the cosmos, because we are only a tiny part of the cosmos, right? We don't know everything. The fact is, when this necessary being, the independent being, the one who is absolute, free from all limitations and dependency, tells us something, that becomes our best guidance. And this is where we say morality and guidance are all grounded on that necessary being.
I don't think you need that necessary being. I think that our morality and our guidance can come from ourselves. I think that the way that we can live can be passed down from our, this way. Listen to your elders, people who've lived. And I think that morality can be passed down throughout our species. I don't think
today, do people disagree on the questions of morality on many issues? Seriously?
Yes.
Yes. So that means, where is the moral guidance of the correct position to take?
Well, we're working that one out.
You're working.
We're working that one out. We've become.
Okay, I understand and appreciate your position. We're working. Maybe eventually someday we'll find. But what I'm saying is, the correct position is already provided by the one who created us, to free us from this trial and error, like what they did in communist Russia, to spare us from this trial and error and suffering. The Creator told us, this is the guidance for you to live, this is the best thing for you.
And where's that guidance?
That's a very good question, but at least in principle we should be ready to accept that if there is a Creator, the necessary being, anything that comes from the Creator will be the best guidance for us. Once in principle we agree to that, then we can say, where is it? How do we verify it? How do we assess that this is indeed that guidance is from that Creator? This is the next question.
I feel
we have to accept
that, actually, thinking that we are here and we are able to come up with our own answers. Some people, something can come from nothing.
Let me ask you.
Let me finish. Like an idea, you can have an idea that I think, you know what? Actually, this is a direction that we need to go in. This is going to create a better. This is a good moral guidance that we can follow to make this world a better place. And I think that's
you're speculating.
That's much freer than, because that means we can have answers ahead of us rather than everything already being set.
Do you believe that idea came from nothing, though? Do you honestly believe that? Do ideas come from nothing? Let's
be honest. Yeah, I mean, like, where does that creativity come from? Where does an idea come from?
Like, even if you take that word tabula rasa, we're a blank slate, but a blank slate gets filled in by our parents, by our society, by what we get in from our 5 senses, by rationality, by our understanding, by experience.
We know more about, like, our understanding of the way that our brains work.
Let me give you an example.
Very, very
Let me give you an example.
And I think that it doesn't come from nothing. but it comes from an idea that can come from a place inside our brain.
Let's take this tabula rasa thing. My brain is empty when I'm born. Yeah? My parents tell me I learn language to communicate. I learn from my teachers. I learn from my five senses. I learn from my surroundings. If I am not in a country, for example, if I am...
It's not empty of instincts. It's not empty of your instinct. Yeah. You have an instinct to speak. You have an instinct to... Yeah, so it's not I would instinct.
Yeah, you're talking about innate disposition, but that's different from an idea. An idea and innate disposition are two different things. They're two different categories. So then on the one hand, if I'm in the concrete jungle as I were, I can't come up with an idea that's going to help in a third world country for them to purify their water if I haven't been exposed to that environment, if I'm not cognizant and I haven't been taught about what the language is, if I haven't been taught about that community. It's only if I was to go there and I learn about the culture and I learn about what's used, what the society is, only then can I have ideas, only then things will come. Like Stephen Hawking, he learned about physics, he learned about the language of the universe and stuff like that. Therefore, he was able to come up with theories of the black hole. Now, that theory of the black hole, you can say, is an idea, but it didn't come from nothing. It came from his understanding of physics, understanding of laws and forces. Correct?
Yes, I guess you can't have an idea about something that you don't know anything about.
Yeah,
exactly. So you have to
ideas don't come from nothing.
No, but no, of course they have a new idea that hasn't existed before can come from somewhere, but that'll be grounded on something.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. So when we talk about morality, we say when the Creator gives us this guidance will be best for us. This is something that's easily understood, because if the Creator wants us to live, in fact, if I were to ask you, Marco, what was the purpose of your creation from that Creator? Why did this Creator create you? How would you find out?
I think all of our existence is totally arbitrary.
Are you suggesting the one who is a willing, conscious agent who brought about this change did this willy-nilly in vain with no purpose behind it?
I think...
Just look at yourself, the way you're organized, the way the sun is organized, so much design input in there for a reason, and yet put yourself whole together, there's no purpose behind your life. Does that make sense? To give you an example, the heart is there to perform its function, to pump the blood all over the body. The lungs is there to take in the oxygen and remove the harmful carbon dioxide from the body, to have this gaseous exchange and then have this energy transferred from your liver, your kidneys, everything in your body seems to be there for a specific function and purpose. Whole body together, you're saying there's no purpose behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that
every part of our body has a purpose, and you put it all together, you don't have a purpose?
It depends on whose purpose in whose eyes. Purpose in my eyes, purpose in society's eyes.
Let me explain a bit further. Did you and I decide the purpose of our heart to beat? Lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. Didn't. Did you put the purpose of your ears for hearing and balance? Did I?
No,
we didn't.
For me.
So nothing of our body, individually or collectively as a whole, how can we then say we make our own purpose? Because we did not design or put our function and purpose for the parts, but as a whole, how can we say the whole, we can decide our purpose?
These are just tools. They're just tools. They're like...
No. If it's so seriously, when you contemplate it, every single part of our body, the purpose and the function, we didn't decide, we didn't agree to. It's something that is there, like an engineer who's done it. And then when we put it all together, you can't say, oh, my purpose is to be happy and have a cigar and that's it. It has to be set by the one who created us. Just like all the parts of our body, the function is set. That makes sense, Marco.
The thing is that I don't see that correlation. As in like...
Okay. The parts have a purpose, the whole doesn't have a purpose. I mean, how do we square that circle?
Well, I mean... But then it depends on what the purpose is very loaded. So I've been
function. What is your function being here in this cosmos?
Well, my function here today. No,
your whole existence, your whole life. shouldn't be decided by yourself, like you didn't decide the purpose and function of your heart.
I think for what reason are we brought into the world? It's not our choice.
The reason wasn't your choice.
No, it wasn't.
We're getting there somewhere. It wasn't your choice that you came into this world. So the reason that you are here and I'm here, it's not something I can speculate about. Oh, you can speculate about. The reason has to be understood from the one who made us. That makes sense. The one who made us, brought all of this universe in this assembly, is in the right position, correct position to tell us our purpose of our existence.
If you are taking that theory, if you think that we were consciously made, then that's where you will draw your function.
So are you still thinking that unconsciousness brought all of this transformation?
I'm saying that.
Does that make sense?
I think there's so many things that we don't know that are far. I think there's so many unknowns.
Even though we don't know, we know for one thing, nothing cannot make something. Do I still need to know?
But you don't know that the state. You don't know that the states are it is nothing. You don't know that there is not, and something didn't exist. You don't know for sure. You don't know that the natural state is something. You've just assumed that the natural state is nothing, but you don't know that the natural state is.
No, I'm saying something exists now, something has to be always. We can't backtrack now, we agreed to that. That's something that always existed. Looks like the universe is being transformed into particular order and precision, into the things you said, stability and so on and so forth. That requires an agent who is transforming. Not just you sitting there. You can sit there in a garage and a bike would not assemble from the parts. It will never happen. The fact that you require an intelligent assembly with an intelligent being or a conscious agent, it's something that we see and we understand, we accept that. Why is it difficult for us to accept that there is an intelligent assembler for all of this universe is the fact that what comes with it, responsibility. Because if there is an intelligent agent created us, must be a reason. And if we want to know what the reason is to actually, there is what we have to fulfill, but we don't want to, we want to be literal, we want to be free, we don't want to follow the purpose that we are created for, it will be an obstacle. And that is what, personally, in my humble opinion, I find the obstacle for people who understand almost that there is an intelligence behind our universe, but the next step of why do I have to follow that intelligent? Why that intelligent agency created me? Why do I have to follow him? I want to be happy the way I am. I want to live my life the way I want, not to be subservient and obedient to that thing. A Muslim, this is where the starking difference is. We are called Muslims conceptually, not just the Arabic word. Someone who eventually surrenders and submits their will to the will of that conscious entity. This is the final recognition of the reality that yes, actually, there's someone greater than I who deserves my obedience and my submission towards. And that's why I'm subservient to the one who's made me and said, you know what, life wasn't mine to begin with, you gave meaning to life. I'm living just because of your mercy, because you gave me life. So I am already in debt to you. So what is I'm required to do? The Creator tells us exactly, and that thing is not difficult for us to do. The Creator doesn't want us to become demons. The Creator wants us to be, with our minds, to develop ourselves to be the best. To be the best.
So you give your obedience to your Creator, and you're part of something. You're the religion. You're a part of. I feel like what I give myself to is broader.
Who do you thank for all that you have?
Like Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. What is Mother Nature?
It is the total sum of everything that we have on this planet.
That's the thing all around us we see, right?
Yeah.
But this is what we see is the effect. This is not the cause. So instead of thanking the cause of all of these things, we are thanking the effect.
If you expect that, but if you think the cause is time, the cause is time.
Time is what?
Time.
What is time? It's just a measure of change. But changes happens only if you have a conscious agent willing and driving that change. So it all goes back to there is a conscious agency. So that conscious agency we should be thanking. For example, if I run into an accident, you shouldn't thank the ambulance. You should thank
whether or not at the very, very beginning there was a conscious creation. Say that there was.
Marco.
Say that there was. What has happened though is that an experiment has begun. Actually, the conscious element of it ended at the beginning of history, 14 billion years ago. So gone. That's it.
So you're thinking about deism.
Now the focus is on what has happened since.
So you're thinking about
very good.
deistic.
I'm happy to go. You created.
Marco,
Well, that was an interesting experiment. But we've moved on.
So you're saying the creator created there and is indifferent to what he's created. He's created something with free will, with agency, and now he's indifferent about it. You see, if you
just a pure randomized kind of. Yeah.
This we can discuss. You're discussing about deism when there is a creator who created, but he's not bothered about this world. This is separate discussion.
That's what you want to basically. I'm just going. If that's what you want to believe.
No, what I'm saying is there's a separate discussion, and we can critique this, and you will agree with us eventually. Deism would not be a rational position to take, but that is something that we have to argue. But what I'm saying now, if I got run over by something, would you thank the ambulance itself? Or you who took me in the ambulance, and the ambulance driver who took me to the hospital, and the doctors and nurses and all the other allied healthcare professionals who actually saved my life? Or would you simply thank the ambulance, that car that drove me?
I wouldn't. I'd be thankful. I'd be thankful to the structure that put all of those things in place.
Just ambulance.
I'd probably
just ambulance. Would you just thank the ambulance? You'd say, I'm so grateful to the ambulance.
I'd be thankful that
just the ambulance.
I'd be thankful to the ambulance.
And no one else, not even you. Yeah,
I'd be thankful that it did its job and it carried me there and it didn't come
only
down.
the vehicle. Not you who actually took me from the road, called the ambulance came, the ambulance driver drove to the hospital, doctors came and they revived me, the nurses and all the healthcare professionals.
Is it possible to be thankful to many? Or can I
what you're thinking, I'm saying in this scenario, you're only thanking the ambulance.
Yeah.
That's Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You know that doesn't sound very appropriate. Thanks is not due to the ambulance. The creator and the creation that you see, creation did not bring us in this life. Instead of thanking the creation, we should be thanking the creator. Instead of being grateful to the Mother Nature, which is the creation, we should be thanking and be grateful to the one who's brought Mother Nature into existence. This is what we are reasoning with you.
Indeed. But I still think that there's probably, there's room for other theories. And I'm saying, fine. You'd have to be thankful. But then am I thankful to that creator who put me in the ambulance in the first place? Am I thankful for that? Am I thankful for that I'm in this building and I survived? But God, that guy in the bed next to me, he suffered a horrible death. Am I thankful for that?
That's probably his lifespan that was determined by the creator. So,
but maybe he died because of a fractured shoulder because someone came along and slapped him too hard on it. And
you must, when you understand about life, do you believe you have control of your lifespan? Can you decide to live for 111 years if you want to?
Basic elements of it, but not really. No, I'm not.
No one is in control of our life.
Marco, look, if you
I mean, a mediocre, minimal level of superficial control.
If we were supposed to meet in the park tomorrow at say 3 o'clock, and then I came an hour late, and then you said, "Why are you late?" And I go, "Oh, because I was waiting for the metals in my car to come together and the plastics and the fabrics to come and organize themselves in such a way and the petrol to come." You would look at me. How would you look at me if I gave you that as an explanation?
It depends. If that's how you normally talk, I'd say, well, he's just been his old self.
No, that's me giving you an explanation of why I'm late and why my car wasn't ready because of the changes didn't take place. Then those changes took place and I was able to come self-drive even though it wasn't a Tesla, and it came. Any reasonable person, Marco, in that conversation would go, are you, like you said, are you winding me up? Like, is this a spoof? Is this a parody? Is this a satirical answer? I'll say no. And the reason why you would go to that conclusion is you would say because it's not feasible for such things, such design to happen by itself. Similarly, if you went and you had a child and you went into your kitchen and your child, there's a series of steps there, there's a cookie jar and your child has a cookie in their hand and they're coming down the steps and the cookie jar's there, and you ask the child, what are you doing? And they said, the wood came by itself and made the stairs, and then I started
You're
getting
implying
raised.
you're implying a constant. That we know that even if there has been some sort of creation, we know that the creative act began and ended, and since then it's up to us to kind of, so that kind of literal, physical, day-to-day creation isn't happening, and I don't think you think that.
Who's maintaining it?
No, wait. You didn't let me finish, because when those two things happen, naturally you assume, based upon your observation, based upon logic, based upon your understanding, you don't even entertain the other idea. Yeah, what you do is something which science uses as well. It's called the inference to the best explanation. Yeah, the inference to the best explanation first was that person is just making an excuse. They don't want to tell you the real reason that they're late, and it's just waffle. Second reason was your child did climb up the stairs, did get the cookie from the cookie jar, even though you told your child not to. And the point that I'm trying to say, Marco, is if you start opening yourself to such possibilities that things can just happen by themselves, following no structure, no design, your life will be an absurdity. You are not following what you do in your daily life, which is you infer things to the best possibility, to the best probability. That's the only way you have survived here, and you will continue surviving. You start crossing the road assuming that cars will just become smoke and they start floating. You don't entertain that thought in the slightest, because you believe in design, you believe in order, you believe in creation, and all we're saying is, look, you believe in that stuff in every facet of your life, Marco.
Why not?
Yeah,
why
you do.
Stop short of it?
And all we're saying is that if you then extrapolate that to creation, it is the inference to the best explanation that there was a creator, as opposed to things haphazardly coming into existence, as if there being aliens or there being this. This seems the best inference to the best explanation. And then when you acknowledge this, then we can then take this further into scripture, into, okay, you talk about prophets, you talk about this, and then there is a scaffolding of evidence, and then you come up with a bigger picture. Yes, in some things it may be a bit difficult for you to know. That's why there is an accumulation of evidence. And that's all we're saying, Marco, that look, when it comes to everything else, you're being unjust here. You don't believe things come from nothing, because you don't sit down. If your bank account is empty, it's going to remain empty until you work and you put money inside it. If no one has a queue and no one's hitting the pool balls, the balls are not going to move. You guys can't stand around with a pint of lager in your hand and just assume that things will happen. It doesn't work like that. Then why is it that you extrapolate that to the universe and expect, it just happened?
But do you accept that the universe, right, however it's come into being, is like 14 billion years old?
Look,
do you accept that the universe is?
We have no reason to doubt that.
No reason to doubt.
As far as the science tells us. We're not biblical creationists who believe in Earth is only 4,000 or 6,000 years old.
And do you think in the 14 billion years since it has come into being, then science has taken over, and everything's just a matter of cause and effect, and and evolution as far as like our species and this
you're
planet.
You're conflating two things.
But do you think that the conscious creation is continuing since that moment of creation of the universe, like when the universe began?
You've made a category error here, and let me explain, and then you can continue afterwards if you want to. One are laws like Big Bang, evolution, the law of gravity, the law of arithmetic. These are mechanisms. Yeah. These are laws. Yeah, and God is the creator of mechanisms and laws. The two are not at odds with each other. The two actually are with with each other.
The same mechanisms of laws have been in place since the beginning. It's like kind of continues from what I say.
We believe
That's
there
natural
was a
law that's been
beginning,
put
yeah.
in.
So
There was a beginning.
And so since those laws were established and they began, they came into force 14 billion years ago at the same time as the matter and everything else in the universe.
For our universe.
Yep. So since then, has there been conscious kind of
Maintaining and
maintenance?
controlling this universe, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We believe in a God.
That doesn't fit with that doesn't fit though, because if that would be counter to the laws. It's so safe. The laws are in place, but there's maintenance is also happening. Does that go against the laws?
If the creator if the creator maintains the universe with a set of laws, he's in control.
They'd maintain themselves. The laws.
Laws don't maintain themselves. Laws are put in place, and the law follow what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
These universal principles, or the laws, they're not conscious agencies. They are there how things will operate, how things will, work. These are the rules put in this cosmos, in its fabric, in its structure. Okay? The creator maintains them. Often you find the creator can intervene within these laws, and we call this sometimes it will be miracles happening. So when sometimes prophets and messengers are raised by this creator to convey a particular message, people might see like odds happening, like why is now a stick turning into a snake? Why is the water being split and then people go across the ocean? These kind of things naturally won't happen. So there might be certain times where these laws which are all
literal things that happen as far as I understand. They are more stories from which
because you are not there, you cannot verify and authenticate them.
Indeed,
right. But there are things
not necessarily.
There are things you can authenticate. You can authenticate and you can verify. You can. That's where
you can for some things, but for things that have happened, certain things that have been said to have happened, you just can't because
by the nature of things, because it's already happened, you cannot assess to verify them because you have to be there in that place.
Yes.
For example, someone, just by doing this and then turning him into a turtle, for example. Now, never happened, but imagine this is a claim that happened in the past. You can't prove or disprove anything like that happened because you were not there to witness this. So there are things that can be proven, that can be verified by looking at it. The Quran, which we haven't touched upon as Muslims, we believe, is that guidance which gives us how to live our life best, and how to submit to our Creator in the best way, how to be thankful and grateful to our Creator. So this Quran gives us many falsification tests to prove it to be not from God. If it wasn't from God, we can falsify it. But it also gives us reasons to believe in it, why it has to be from God. So some of the examples you can give, which you will say like, why is it like that? I mean, it goes beyond explanation. This is where scientists, philosophers, thinkers, they're struggling to explain the very existence of the Quran. The Quran, if it gives you information about something, and you find that information couldn't have been known at that time, or even today, you would say, I mean, how did it come? I mean, you can't ascribe this to magic, can you?
no, it's a lot to think about. Indeed, I'm gonna.
I know it's been a lot of information. But Marco,
but I would say also, keep your mind open to.
Our mind is open. Because of this openness, we are convinced of our Creator, the oneness of our Creator, that we need to submit to our Creator, otherwise we would not be in the right place in our second life after we die. We will be, if we want to go to a place of happiness, you have to submit yourself to this one Creator. You have to follow the guidance through his last of this guide, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this last messenger.
It's good to submit yourself to something, because submitting yourself is freeing, because you realize
liberating.
It's liberating, exactly. Submitting yourself to something is liberating. What I would prefer to submit myself to is what I have in the here and now. I have a fellow. I really don't see. I don't have any boundaries between myself and anyone else on the planet, and I prioritize like any creature as much as I prioritize myself. Well, no, maybe not, but you know, I think that I've submitted myself to an idea of common humanity, of being a part of a natural world with like, which we share with like creatures that are astounding, and I think that that's why I want to submit myself to, and I think it's I feel freed by the idea that we are here making our decisions for ourselves, and we haven't got somebody making them for us, and they're not
Marco, you know the problem with that is you're currently at equilibrium. It's when things start going wrong, when emotions start coming, bro, when if, God forbid, if your wife was to leave you and then you get fired, which happened to one of my friends, and these things happen in succession, let's see how you're going to be feeling in that situation.
Oh no.
And in that situation, Marco, this is where it comes down to. Your individual sensibilities can be warped, they can be manipulated. There's nudge theory, there's manufacturing consent, Noam Chomsky, where governments manufacture your consent. We can be manipulated, we can be changed. So look, I know that the thing is, because we hop from one thing to another, the thing is initially, that's what we kind of agreed to, which was a necessary being. And once you agree that there's a necessary being, should have certain qualities, then what is the role of that necessary being? Okay, then what has that necessary being done? Okay, every other religion claims to have a book. Okay, then it's very unlikely that every single religion is just making stuff up. How do we determine what is true? What's the criteria that have been put in place? So stuff like that, slowly, you go through it.
For me, religious, you know, surely like religious text, if there's a theory that you know, a religious text could have just been an early form of manufacturing content. You know, that's a story to tell to people in order.
That's what Mansur said. There's a falsification test in the Quran that it can be proved to be false. And if it was just a book written in the desert 1400 years ago, let's face it, Marco, in the 21st century where we're dealing with quantum mechanics, AI and meta, why is a 1400-year-old book from the desert going to be relevant unless there is substance to it?
Stories are powerful, we know that.
No, but that's the
stories that like we are told shape the way that we behave, and that's and you know, the way that we make decisions, and that's, you know.
But you're assuming that it's stories. Prophecies, it's
without having read the Quran, shame that I haven't, you know, I'd like to, you know, I haven't read any of the major religious. Like,
please go and have a read.
Indeed, of course, yeah, it'd be much easier to have a good conversation without there being. So unfortunately, I haven't. So there's no point assuming or guessing about what is without having.
Just to give you one example to take home a message in the Quran, the Quran is an example of this phenomenon. To share this with you, because the Quran is in Arabic, I will tell you the Arabic first and then I'll translate the meaning to you. أولم يرى الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون. Do not be unbelievers. See, or have they not known that the heaven and the earth was joined together as one piece and God parted it asunder, and he brought every living thing from water? Would they then not believe? So there's a question that is addressed initially not to the believers, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, not to the believers, to those who are unbelievers. Ends with a rhetorical question: would they then not believe? Meaning, between this question and what's stopping you from believing, there's substance. And substance is astrophysics and biology in one verse. The common origin of our universe, where it was united in one singularity, that's what the is rataq, and this fataq, which is separation. And not only that, that every living thing was made from water. Astrophysics and biology. Why is the Quran 1400 years ago from a man in a desert who doesn't have the telescopes to understand the universe is expanding and the universe was one in origin, the earth and everything that's beyond the earth? Hardly any water to drink, and yet he's saying every living thing is made from water. That should be something for you to reflect and ponder on. Marco, it's a pleasure speaking to you. Take care.
Take care, Marco.
And hope we can speak again. If not, continue your journey speaking to the Muslims and ask questions and explore. And you will see that you are actually, in your thinking, you're not far off.
No, that's we've all got so much common ground, and so much, a lot of the time, the focus is on the slight differences of opinion.
Exactly.
But, great. Who's this one?
Take care.
This guy.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. What was the conversation about, by the way?
lots of things.
Yeah, it's broad.
Is it?
I'll go. My mates are waiting for me.
Yeah. All the best. Take care.
It's a my one.
Take care, Marco.
Is this my one?
I don't know.
No, that's my one. My one's this one.
That's awesome, man. How's it going? Is this your first time there?
I've actually come by the
Nice.
You going home?
No, not yet.
Can you charge my phone?
Yeah.
All my days.
She's different. It's too much for me.